Tonight we are proud to honor 22 individuals who were instrumental in the founding of Hale's boys basketball program. The fall of 1942 saw Hale's first school program extended from grades 10 to 12 and the creation of Hale High School's first varsity sport, boys basketball. Hale joined the Northeastern League with fellow Class D outfits Alabaster, Augrey, Tawa City, and Whittemore. Like any fledgling program, the Hale team caught its share of bumps, but also tallied many firsts. Carlos French had a hand in picking the blue and white colors that we still proudly wear, and scored the first point in program history against Augrey. The program's first win came a season later over that same Augrey squad. The 1944 edition also captured Hale's first postseason contest win, with Danny Pearsall and French pacing the scoring over Whittemore. With Shellenbarger and Sam Zimmerman leading the way, Hale topped Tawa City for the first time ever in 1946, a club that had not lost a regular season match against a Class D competition in 3 years. At this time, it is my honor to announce the Hale boys basketball 1940s all-decade team. Selected as captain and represented by his son Plynn, Perry Shellenbarger, class of 1947. Selected as captain, Sam Zimmerman, class of 1946. I'm giving some applause down here, but I'm representative. Selected as a starter and represented by his son Tim, Carlos French, class of 1944. Selected as a starter and represented by his daughter and his Marcy and his grandson Zach, Dale Humphrey, class of 1950. Not able to be represented tonight, but selected as a starter, Danny Pearsall, class of 1945. Next, we have selected as reserves two Bernard brothers, Elwood Bernard, class of 1949, and Lyle Bernard, class of 1947. They are represented by their families Brenda, Becky, Barry, and Joanne. Selected as a reserve and represented by his daughters Jennifer and Stephanie, Nelson Johnson, class of 1948. Selected as a reserve from the class of 1948, Don Sabin, represented by his daughter Jackie. And our final member of the 1940s team, selected as a reserve and represented by his nephew Kim and his niece Diane, Maurice Wilson, class of 1950. Can we get another round of applause for the 1940s all-decade team representative? The 1950s saw Hale achieve new heights. They were among the 6 founding schools of the North Star League in 1950, including Atlanta, Fairview, Hale, Rose City, and our guests tonight, the Hillman Tigers. Hale finished second in the NSL circuit that first season, but then jumped to the more local Huron Shore League. It was there that Hale won its first ever league championship in 1952 with Grant Mousseau and Maurice Clement providing most of the scoring punch. Hale added to the trophy case in 1953, scoring a district title with a win over Au Gray. Hale saw its first ever 1,000-point score in the mid-1950s as Nelson Shellenbarger piled up points in the paint. The 1958 squad added a second district title with Arnold McKenzie powering the Eagle attack. Hale rejoined the North Star League in the fall of 1958 and has been in the league ever since. It is my pleasure to announce the Hale boys basketball 1950s all-decade team, selected as captain and represented by his son Grant Mousseau, class of 1953. Selected as captain and represented by his son Barry, Nelson Shellenbarger, class of 1956. Selected as a starter, but not represented tonight, Maurice Clement, class of 1952. Also selected as a starter, Arnold McKenzie, class of 1958. Selected as a starter and represented by his son Scott, Arnold Shellenbarger, class of 1951. Selected as a reserve, but not represented tonight, William Clement, class of 1954. Selected as a reserve and represented by his brother Ron, Leland Dane, class of 1959. Selected as a reserve and represented by his daughter Brandy, Lowell Dorsey, class of 1958. Selected as a reserve and represented by his son John and daughter Laura and her husband Alan, Jerry Cruz, class of 1958. Selected as a reserve but not able to be with us tonight, Paul Redmond, class of 1959. Also selected as a reserve and not represented, Eugene Reamer, class of 1959. Selected as a reserve and not able to be represented tonight, Richard Shaw, class of 1954.